So we are going to learn about the performance measure and we are going to measure the performance of a processor, right? And how do we measure the performance of a processor? The time taken to execute a program, right? So program execution time will determine the performance of the processor. The program execution time must be as minimum as possible. Then only we say that the performance of a processor is higher. Keeping this an objective, we are going to design a system. Now, to measure the program execution time, we need to define some terminologies. The first terminology is frequency. Let me put this figure, and these are the clock cycles: positive half cycle of a clock, negative half cycle of a clock. Again, this is positive, negative, and this goes on. The x-axis is the time axis, and the y-axis represents the amplitude of the clock, right? And in a figure, if I want to uh, plot the cycle time, so I need to cover one negative half cycle and one positive half cycle. Both together will make one cycle time, right? So CT means cycle time. So I'm going to write this cycle time. We will define the frequency of this clock. Now, what is frequency of the clock? We also call it as clock rate. Now, what is clock rate? The number of such cycle, how many it occurs in number in 1 second, right? So the frequency, I can write F is equal to the number of cycles per second. So if you measure the number of cycles per second, then that will be the frequency of a clock. And what is the relation between the cycle time and the frequency? So I can write it as frequency is equal to 1 divided by cycle time, or cycle time is reciprocal of frequency. Say for example, if the frequency is 1 megahertz, now this cycle time will be 1 divided by 1 megahertz, that is equal to 1 microsecond. What is IC? IC is equal to instruction count, right? So I can define instruction count. In a given program, when we write a program, I'm going to write a simple program here, a dummy program, move R0, R1, something like this, and move A, hash 20. And then I have a load accumulator with 1000H, and we have a branch instruction. I will write it as exit, and we have a move instruction A, hash 10. Some dummy instruction I'm going to write so that to construct a program, move A, 1000H. Now this piece of a program contains how many instruction? I will count it as first instruction, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And each instruction will take a specific amount of time. Now this instruction will take how many such cycle? It will take one cycle of time. And the second instruction will also take one cycle of time. And who are going to determine the time taken to execute each instruction? That is the manufacturers. While designing the processor, they will estimate the time, and that depends upon the crystal frequency what they are connected to processor. Load instruction, since there is a direct memory locations, memory calculation addressing mode, so I will give something like 3. This is just for an example. And branch instruction, I will give it 4, right? And something like move, again I will give 1, and for the sixth instruction I will give 2. So this is just random cycle time I have given for each instruction. Okay, so now what is IC? I mean here you need to count the number of instruction in a program. Now how many instructions we have? 6. So the instruction count value will become 6. Okay, so that is the meaning of instruction count. Then we have the cycle count. Now each instruction will take how many cycle? 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these will be the total number of cycle counts. Each instruction will take its own cycle time. So that is the meaning of CT. And cycle count means the total number of cycles that program is going to take to execute the program. So I need to just sum all the cycle times together, and that will be represent cycle count. And for a given piece of program, what I have displayed here, now if I count the number of cycle, it turns out to be 12 in number. So that is the meaning of cycle count. Now we have another terminology called it as average cycles per instruction. Now, what is average cycle per instruction? How do we determine this one? So the formula to determine the average cycle per instruction is I need to take instruction, individual instruction, and then I need to multiply with what? How many clocks per instruction it will take. Say, for example, this is an instruction move. Now, how many such move instructions we have? So I can do it individually, or I can group such group of move instruction. Okay. So I can write it one. How many move instruction we have? 1 and 2, right? So 2 multiplied by what is the number of clock per instruction it is going to consider? 1. So 2 into 1, 2, right? So like this, you need to sum all the such types of instruction. So I'm going to write summation of I is equal to 1 to n divided by total number of instruction count. So how many move instructions are there? 1, 2, and 3, right? So I will write it as 3 move instructions are there, and move instruction always take 1 clock cycle. So I have written 3 into 1 like this, plus. Now, how many load instructions we have? We have only 1 load instruction. Okay, so there is only 1 load instruction. So I will write that combination as 1 into 3 plus. Now, how many branch instructions we have? 1 branch instruction. So I'm going to write it as 1 into 4. And there is only 1 arithmetic instruction multiplied by 2. Now, how many total number of instructions we have? If you count the total number of instruction, 6. Now, solve this one. 3 into 1, 3, plus 3, plus 4, plus 2, right? Divided by 6. So the numerator figure will become 12 divided by 6. So 2. Now, what is this 2 indicates? This is average clock cycles per instruction. Now, what do you understand by this average? Instructions are there. 6 multiplied by 2. 6 multiplied by 2. So that is 12. Even if you count it individually, 1, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, this will also become 12, right? On an average, 12 cycles are there, 6 instructions are there. Now, how many each instruction will take? On an average, 2, but it is not actually taking 2. So this is how we need to calculate the average cycles per instruction. Now, what is program execution time now? So program execution time is given as count the number of cycles multiplied by each cycle time. Count, how do you count the cycle? You need to count first what? Instructions, instruction count multiplied by average cycles per instruction, then multiplied by cycle time. If I go back to this program execution time is given as cycle count multiplied by cycle time, or you can write it as instruction count multiplied by average cycle per instruction multiplied by cycle count. Now, for this given piece of program, how many instruction counts we have in a total? There are 6 instructions multiplied by what is average cycles per instruction. We have calculated and it got 2 multiplied by what is the cycle time. If I consider 1 megahertz, then the cycle time will be 1 microsecond. So I will substitute 1 microsecond. So this turns out to be 12 microsecond. Now the program execution time is 12 microsecond. If I use this formula, program execution time is equal to cycle count multiplied by cycle time. Now what is cycle count? How many cycles your complete program will take? You need to count 1 plus 1 plus 3 plus 4 plus 1 plus 2. Then that is also becomes 12. 12 multiplied by cycle time is 1 microsecond. Then again you will get 12 microsecond only. Okay, so this is how we determine the program execution time. If the program execution time is lesser, then we will say that the performance of the system is higher with respect to the processor. We have other terminologies to determine the performance of the measure. The first parameter is mFLOPS. Now, what are mFLOPS? These will represent as number of floating point operations in a program. So how many such floating point operations are there in a program? That count you need to write in a numerator divided by the program execution time multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Why we are multiplying with 10 raised to 6 in denominator is because we are going to determine in terms of millions, okay, per million, right? So that terminology is called as median floating point operations. We have another factor, MIPS. So what is MIPS? Million instructions per second. So how to calculate million instruction per second? Take the instruction count divided by the program execution time multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Again, 10 raised to 6 per million, right? Now, if you substitute what is PET? PET is here, right? So IC multiplied by average CPI multiplied by CT, then 10 raised to 6. So IC get cancelled. What is 1 by CT? 1 by CT is frequency. So I will write 1 by CT is frequency. So average CPI multiplied by 10 raised to 6. There are two processor A and processor B. Processor A will execute 2 millions instruction per second, and processor B will execute 6 million per second. Then which processor is faster? Then we will tell the processor B is faster than processor A. So this is how we can make a choice between the processor. So how to make a choice? Either you need to calculate mFLOP, MIPS, and the program execution time. So these three factors, when you calculate and measure, by looking at those factors, figures, we can judge or we can choose a faster processor. We are going to solve one example. So we need to calculate what? The average CPI. So this factor I need to determine. And also they are going to ask to determine, find out the value of MIPS, that is million instruction per second. And what is the given data they have given? So they have given for a CPU with 200 megahertz. So, right. And they have also given a program. Now, what is this program? A program, it contains ALU, it contains load store architecture, it contains branch instruction, and some other instructions. So a program is a mixture of these instruction category. So they have not given us a program. Instruction wise, they have not given, but they have told us in general that the program is going to consider the following instruction mixture. ALU, it contains 38%, load and store instruction contains 15%, branch instruction contains 42%, and others contains what? Such 5%. Okay. Now, since it is, they are telling us in an occurrence of percentage of occurrence, so I will consider how many program instruction count we will consider. I will consider 100. Okay. So a typical program, I'm going to consider instruction count as 100. Right. So if I consider 100, why I'm considering 100? Because percentage is always with respect to 100 figure, right? So if we have an instruction count as 100 in a program, now how many such ALU instructions we will have? 38% of 100 means. So we will be having 38 such instructions. Load store architecture will have how many? 15 instructions we will have. Branch instructions, we will have 42 in number, and others we will be having like 5. So total we will sum it together, then again it will be 100, right? Next, the number of cycles per instruction. Now, how many cycles it is going to execute? Each ALU instruction, number of cycles per instruction they are telling, right? Per instruction. Okay. Now ALU will take how many? It will take 1. Load store architecture, it will take 3. It will take 3. Branch instruction, it takes 4, and others will take, these are all per instruction. Okay. So don't consider that 38 instructions will execute in one cycle. No, right? One ALU instruction will take 1 cycle per instruction. Okay. And load store architecture, one load store architecture will take 3 cycles to execute. Average CPI is equal to what? You need to sum up. I is equal to 1 to n. Okay. Instruction and how many cycles per instruction it is going to take. Now, how many such categories we have? N value is 4. One category is ALU. The second category is load store architecture. The third category is branch, and the fourth category is other, right? So now I'm going to put the value of I is equal to 1. So I will write this as I value I 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how many instructions we have? 38 such instructions we have. And what is the number of cycles per instruction it will take? 1. So I will multiply 38 into 1 plus. Now, second category, load store architecture. Load store architecture, how many instructions we have? 15 multiplied by each instruction will take 3. So 15 plus 15 into 3. Okay. What is the formula for average cycle per cycles per instruction? Take sum and divide it with what? Divided by instruction count. Now the third category is branch. What is the number of branch instruction? In number 42, and each branch instruction will take 4. So you multiply with 4. And then finally we have others. 5 such instructions we have, multiplied by 5. Whole divided by, now how many instruction count we have? 100. Sum together 38 plus 15 plus 42 plus 5. So that sums to be 100. Now simplify. 38 plus 15 into 3. How much it is?
45.
45. This becomes 168 plus 25. Whole divided by 100. Right? Okay. So how much it turns out to be? Can somebody tell me the answer?
276.
2.76. So 2.76 will be the average cycles per instruction. Program execution time, PET, is equal to what? Cycle count multiplied by cycle time. Okay. Now CC, I can't keep counting the number of cycles, how many cycles it will take, right? So instead of that, I will say instruction count multiplied by average CPI multiplied by CT. So this formula I'm going to use. Now what is CT? Frequency they have given. CT I can calculate it as reciprocal of frequency, 1 by F. So how much it turns out to be? 1 divided by 200. Or I can replace here only. IC multiplied by average CPI multiplied by CT is what? 1 by F. So I will write 1 by F. I will substitute the, what is the instruction count value? 100. Average, how much it is taking? 2.76 multiplied by 1 divided by 200 mega. Right? When the mega goes from denominator to numerator, it will become micro. Mega means 10 raised to 6. If it goes to numerator, 10 raised to minus 6 means micro. If you solve this one, right? So 1, this 0, 0 get cancelled. 2.76 divided by 2. It will be 1.38 microseconds. So this is program execution time. So they have told us to calculate the MIPS, million instruction per second. So we have two different formulas for million instruction. One is what? the frequency divided by average CPI into 10 raised to 6. So I will make use of that formula. That is frequency, that is clock rate, divided by average CPI multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Now substitute the frequency 200 megahertz divided by what is average CPI 2.76 multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Okay, so 10 raised to 6 and mega will get cancelled.
72.46.
72.46. So 72 million instructions on an average, 72 million instructions per second, this processor can execute the number of instructions. 72.46 millions per second. So that will be the capacity or the performance of a processor. Okay, so there are two machines, machine A and machine B. And both the machines are operating at the same clock rate. Even this is also working at 200 megahertz, and machine B is also operating at the same frequency, that is 200 megahertz. But they are executing what? An instruction category, ALU, load store, branch, others. Here also we have ALU, load store, branch instruction. But how many instructions are there? There are 5, and here also 5. Here there are 10 in number, such 10 million load store architectures we have, but here we have only 5. Here branch 5, here also branch 5. So where is the change? The change is in what? In instruction category. And also the change is in the number of cycles per instruction it is going to execute. See here, load store architecture, machine will take 3. Machine A will take 3 cycles to execute each load store architecture. But machine B is designed such a way that, so it is going to take only 2 cycles per instruction, load store instruction, it is going to take only 2, right? So there is the difference, right? So here we have, I will mark in a different color, the difference between the machine A is here, given data. One is clock rate, it is uniform for both the machine, right? And what all I need to determine? The average CPI, then program execution time, and also MIPS, million instruction per second. Okay, now how many machines we have? We have machine A, machine B. Okay, now first we will calculate the average CPI. So what is average CPI formula? Average CPI formula is what? Summation of 1 to n, the number of instruction multiplied by cycles per instruction, right? And whole divided by the instruction count. Got it? Now, how many such instructions we have? Here 5 millions. So I will write 5 multiplied by each each ALU instruction will take 1. So I will write 1 multiplied by, sorry, summation it is there. So 5 into 1 plus 10 multiplied by 3 plus 5 million instructions are there, and each instruction will take 4 cycles. So 5 multiplied by 4 plus here the next 4th category is others, 5 multiplied by 3. 5 multiplied by 3. Okay, divided by how many instruction counts we have. So just sum together, 5 plus 10, 15, 15 plus 5, 20, 20 plus 5, 25. So 5 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5. Can anybody help me to get the value?
2.8, sir.
2.8, sir.
Upper will be 70 and the below will be 25. So 2.8, sir.
1 second. Let me check. 2.8. Okay. So I will write it as average CPI for machine A is 2.8. We will also calculate for machine B. Okay, machine B. Now what is for machine B? Again, substitute average CPI formula. Average CPI is equal to formula will remain same, 5 multiplied by 1 plus 5 multiplied by 2 plus 5 multiplied by 4 plus 5 multiplied by 3. And how many total number of instructions we have? 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Okay. Can somebody help me to get that value?
It's 2.5, sir.
2.5. So I will write here average CPI for machine B is 2.5. Now machine A is executing a program which have only 20 million instructions, and the machine B is executing how many instructions? 25 million instructions. The size of the program is bigger here. Are you getting my point? Here 5 plus 10 plus 5 plus 5, right? And here B is 20. Okay. Now next. Now what I need to find out now? Program execution time. Now what is program execution time? Program execution time is given as, so program execution time for machine A is instruction count multiplied by average CPI multiplied by cycle time. Now what is cycle time? Cycle time can be also given as what? I can directly replace this cycle time by clock rate, that is 1 by f. Now substitute the value. What is the number of instruction count here? The instruction count is 25 multiplied by, on an average, it is 2.8 divided by 200 megahertz. Now what is the value of PETA?
0.35 microseconds.
0.35 microseconds. Okay. Similarly, we can determine what? MIPS. MIPS for machine A. Now what is MIPS for machine A? It is given by frequency divided by, what is the formula? Average CPI multiplied by 10 raised to 6. Substitute 200 divided by average CPI is 2.8 multiplied by 10 raised to 6. What is the value? MIPS?
71.42.
71.42.
42.
Okay. Now come for the machine B. For machine B, we will calculate PETB. Now what is PETB? Instruction count multiplied by CPI of B divided by frequency, clock rate. So how many instructions count we have? 20 multiplied by 2.5 whole divided by 200 megahertz. So what is the value? PETB?
0.25
microseconds.
0.25 microsecond. Okay. And then what is MIPS of B? It is given by F divided by CPIB multiplied by 10 raised to 6.
80,
So
sir.
it is 200 divided by 2.5, 10 raised to 6. It turns out to be
80.
80, right? So I'm going to just do the comparison. Now for the comparison, what are the values, parameters? We have calculated average CPI. Then we have calculated the program execution time and MIPS, right? And this is for machine A, and we have machine B. Okay, so I will make the comparison in a table so that we can find out which machine is good. Okay. Okay, fine. First, I will write for machine A in red color. So average CPI is 2.8. Program execution time is 0.35 microsecond, and MIPS is 71.42. And for machine B, I will write in a blue. For average is 2.5, and program execution time is 0.25 microsecond. And what about the MIPS? It is
80.
taking 80 million instruction. Now make the comparison and tell which is giving the higher performance.
B.
Machine B will execute 0.25 microseconds, right? It is taking lesser time. Program execution time is lesser. And it has a capacity of executing how many instructions? 80 million instructions per second. Okay, whereas machine A is having 71 million instruction per second capacity. And why it is taking a larger time, 0.35 microsecond? Because the program is also larger, but not a problem. With respect to millions we are asking. So 71 million instructions it will execute in per second, whereas this 80, right? Therefore, it has what? A lower program execution time. Why it is lower program execution time? Can you look at here? Now load store architecture from 3 cycles per instruction, it has been changed to 2. So obviously it will take what? Lesser. Okay. So program execution time will be lesser because the number of cycles per load store instruction is reduced from 3 to 2. So that is why. So machine conclusion is what? Machine B is good compared to machine A. So this is how you will get the in internal examination. These figures we are going to change, right? I can make it here it as 5, here I can make it 20, here 10, here 10. I can make this as 2, 4, 4, then 5, then 4. So these will be the changes made in the table, and sometimes even I can change the clock rate also. So accordingly, you need to substitute, find out. So there will be 2 different clock rates, multi-processors and multi-computer. There are 2 different approach we have. The system can be multi-processor systems and or it can be multi-computer system. So these are the 2 major categories in a system we have. Now, what is multi-processor? Multi means many, processors means your CPU, right? So if I draw the multi-processor system, how it looks like in a block diagram. So we have many processor. So CPU 1, CPU 2, CPU 3, like this we have. And there will be only one common memory among the processor. So this is our memory, right? We have multi-processors, CPUs, and we have a single memory. Whereas in multi-computer, your multi-computer means it has its own CPU, 1, and it has its own memory, right? And similarly, we have CPU 2 and its own memory, right? This itself is a computer 1, computer 2, and similarly, I will draw another computer. This is CPU 3 and it's having its own memory, and this is called computer 3. Now, all these 3 computers are connected to each other. That will constitute a system, right? These are not individual system. All together will put as considered as one single system. But the system contains many computers, right? So multi-computer system. Now, what are the advantages, merits, and demerits in this? Now, if you look at this arrangement in multiprocessor, you have multiple CPUs, but a single memory. Now, when this CPU 1 is using a memory, CPU 2 and 3 cannot use the memory, right? We can give an analogy to understand this. So there is a washroom, right? A person, 1, 2, and 3. If person 1 is using the washroom, so when he enters into the washroom, the door is latched, right? The second person cannot visit. So these resources are only one, common to all these 3. When this washroom will be used by the second person, when the first person comes out. Similarly, this arrangement here, what we have, when a memory is used by any processor, that will be put a lock to that memory. And that concept, we call it as semaphore. I hope you have studied this concept semaphores in the operating system, right? So when a processor comes and using the shared memory, now this memory is called as shared memory. When it is being shared, and it will be put lock, and it will be unlock the memory when it is leaves the memory, so that the other processor can use. Now, how the system will progress the computation? With the help of shared memory system. So such systems are called it as what? Shared memory systems. Why? Because we have a single common memory among the multiple processors. So such systems are also called as shared memory systems. Whereas in the multi-computer, now the memory is being separate for each different computers. But however, this processor will communicate with another computer, and this computer will interact with another computer like this. So how they are going to compute the data as a single system? So they will start passing the messages. So system one, the CPU one will pass a message to CPU two, or CPU two can pass a message to CPU three or CPU one. So this is how the multi-computer, the communication information interchange is happening with the help of messages. Such type of systems, we call it as message passing systems. Message passing systems. Okay, in objective questions, they will ask multi-computers are also known as shared memory system, message passing system, reduced instruction system, right? So none of these. So multi-computers are also called as message passing system. Now, why it is termed as message passing system? Because the processors are going to pass the message to communicate each other, so that the complete objective to be solved or to be reached. Okay, to process the single objective, multi-computers are working on a same piece of objective problem statement. So hence, this multi-computers are also known as message passing system.